Welcome back to Fear and Beer, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. Join us as we venture year-round into the fog.
Make sure you give us a like and a follow on your podcast platform of choice. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube page where we upload every episode in its video format, and maybe a few other surprises as well.
Make sure you're following us on social media to keep up to date with our newest haunted content.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
I'm Jamie.
And we are back from our mini hiatus, aka 1 week. Not really, because we still put out Shutter Sundays for you, but we haven't really talked Horror Nights in a little bit. And, well, that's going to kind of keep on continuing because we are talking about Horrors Unleashed this week. And obviously, if you are not familiar, that is the brand new kind of standalone haunted house attraction that they're going to be putting over at Area 51 in Las Vegas. They finally dropped the announced date, or not the announced, the opening date, and that is going to be August 14th. So we figured today is as good as any to start talking about really anything Horror Nights adjacent that we can that's actually official. It's weird saying there's official things in February, but this is actually official. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. This is what's going to happen out there, which is crazy that it's coming out 2 weeks before Horror Nights, and it's like set in stone. Like that's everything. We know what's going in there, but for it being a permanent thing versus a side attraction event, that makes sense. So let's get into this a little bit. I'm kind of skipping the beers. I know we kind of went over we kind of flew by stuff. Coming off of what seems like a 8-month-long bender. From Horror Nights right into Thanksgiving, right into Christmas, right into New Year's, right into bachelor parties and weddings. And I'm taking a little break. I got to cut some weight off of this before I start soaking it all back in at Horror Nights. So if you don't see any beers in the next couple episodes, don't believe me. But I'm just going to kind of cut them out for a little bit just to try to work on myself a little bit. So that's why we're getting right into the nitty gritty here. So Horrors Unleashed. Jamie, what did you think about the little teaser, the little trailer video that they put out there?
So cool to see. I mean, obviously we'd be excited for anything year-round Halloween, especially Halloween Horror Nights theme, but I didn't realize, I thought it was fun that they're going to do like themed dining and like entertainment and stuff like that too, along with the haunted houses. So I'm really interested to see what the restaurants and like what drink and like food offerings they're going to have too.
Yeah, and I don't think that stuff is released yet. I've seen the pictures and I've seen like the promo art and stuff like that. And I do know that it's a very immersive building. Once you go in, it's kind of, you see what's going on in there. But this is 10 minutes from the strip. And I did see that they put this very limited parking. So if you are planning on going, I would plan on finding a way to Uber there or something like that, because it does seem that parking may be an issue, especially since, well, opening day sold out. The tickets are already sold out for opening day. August
Did
14th.
it really? I didn't even check. Damn.
Yep. So just a quick little rundown. We already talked about it a little bit, but it does say that these attractions are surrounded by 4 immersive themed areas, and they all offer different live entertainment. So I'm assuming that they will sort of theme them to the properties that you're going to be in. So being Universal Monsters, Chainsaw, Exorcist, and Scarecrow. And the experience will be continuously updated with seasonal events and exclusive one-off merchandise and stuff like that. So it does seem that obviously these are sort of the pillars of Horrors Unleashed, being these 4 announced houses, but it does seem that they're open to changing them or revamping them and stuff like that.
I was going to say, I wonder if they'll like switch out the houses and stuff. Because I wonder, obviously Universal Monsters makes sense, but I was surprised with the other 3 choices. I wonder, out of all the houses that have come to Horror Nights before, what made them choose those 3, you know? Maybe it was just like, if they did like guest reviews or whatever, and those are maybe the houses that were most well sought out.
The satisfaction series, yeah. Because this was, if you do remember, this was announced January 2023. So this has been announced for a while.
Has it already been 2 years? Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So It's been announced for a while, and it's kind of been in the inner workings. I've seen some updated pictures. So let's get into the tickets, because the ticket prices and offerings are not that different, but interesting. So there's a general admission ticket, which gets you into that little common area, and you get to go through each house one time.
Mhm.
That is $69. It does say for all of these tickets that it does say the wording is weird. It's like your selected start time. So I'm assuming you have to like say, okay, I'm going in the house at 6:30,
I
6:35,
saw that
something
too.
like that. So that's how I'm assuming it's going to be. So that way, I mean, because this place is not going to really make money if you're just in line. You know, they did off the tickets, but like if they make it so that you can be sitting in one of the immersive areas having a drink or some food, waiting for your time to come, that's like a moneymaker right there. Instead of just spending 4 hours standing in line, which we do at Horror Nights, it's nothing new to us. But in a very small little building with just 4 houses, you really want them to be spending money while they're in there, not just waiting in line. Because you come in, each house is an hour, you spend 4 hours, then you're gone. Like all you did was pay the admission price. All that extra stuff is where they get you with the merch and the food and the drinks and stuff like that. There is a Nevada resident general admission pass, which again, each house just once, and you're going to save a whopping, ready for it, $10.
Sounds like the Florida resident discounts, baby.
$59. So, like, I guess we kind of get our Florida discount being that we can like super use those frequent fear passes, but like we don't really get a discount on admission.
It's literally like $10
we?
too, I'm pretty sure. Because if you, I
Single
was
day?
looking,
I don't know.
I was looking at Volcano Bay passes the other. I mean, it's separate, obviously, but it was like save your Florida discount online by saving $10 when you book online with a Florida resident, and I'm like, oh, what a treat!
Right.
But it's really
Horror Nights tickets don't get discounted for Florida residents, right?
so. Just because we've been buying the frequent fear passes in the more couple years back, I'm not really sure, but back in the day, before I would buy frequent fear passes, you would be able to buy them at like Publix and stuff, and you could use like a Florida resident discount on like tickets like those, or you'd get
Yeah.
like stuff like that. So I feel like the discount, like you could see it there, but I don't know if it's already incorporated when you buy your tickets, since our tickets are linked to our passes and we're a Florida resident, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't think so. But and then there is the other pass. There is the general admission unlimited, which allows you to go through any of the houses multiple times. And again, you still have to select start time. So I'm curious, like how often you can scan in, or I'm curious what the time frame is for them to let you go through these houses. But that one is $99. So for an extra $30,
It's your
you
best
can go
bet.
through houses multiple times. I think that's what they're trying to
Mhm.
push people to do. They're like, well, how do we get people to spend $100? Like, well, make it $70, but for extra $30, they can go as much as they want. Like, that's just the easiest $30 like upgrade I'd ever see. Even if
Sure.
it was like $50 more, I'd probably still pay for it. If I'm already spending $70 to get in, like I'd rather just double up and be able to go.
Yeah.
So as far as the ticket prices, I feel like that's pretty reasonable, especially for Vegas, for something to do out there. It's not crazy. I do think it's a little crazy, $70 to do each house once, but the unlimited price is not bad.
I think the unlimited pricing is pretty good, but I think the $70 to do everything. I mean, I know you were kind of just saying how it is, but I am curious as to how long the houses will be. Kind of like you were saying, if I highly doubt they're going to be an hour long, but I would assume if you're only going in with smaller groups, or like maybe with your party, if they're going to be staggering it with those times that you have to book, then I would assume it would take a little bit longer.
I'd imagine that these houses will be pulsed. I do think because of and I'm curious to see if that's something they're using Horrors Unleashed as like a testing ground for.
Mhm.
Like, is there a way to do this? Can we add like one like exclusive house that's pulsed?
Mhm.
Like, and you have to set your time when you come into the park. Like, is that a feasible thing to bring to Horror Nights? Because it does make the experience, 100 times better.
Oh yeah.
You look at like Hallowscream and in Orlando in particular at SeaWorld, and you can obviously tell like the budget's not 100%. You can't match Horror Nights, but even with the houses being, below Horror Nights when it comes to scale and immersiveness, you make up for in the fact that you get pulsed through and you're kind of with your own group. That adds a whole different factor to it, and it really does make a difference.
It does.
Yeah. So let's get into the 4 houses that are going to be there. And again, this is probably going to be a little bit of a quicker episode because we're just kind of buying time until we get that spec map. Which Horror Night Nightmares, come on.
Before we get started going into them, which one are you most excited for? I think I know.
I would say Scarecrow.
That's what I figured you
I
would
mean,
say.
that feels like a pretty easy answer right there.
Mhm.
So let's get into them. So the houses, we have Universal Monsters. And again, I don't think there's been any in-depth like storylines released of these houses. We just know the names and kind of going off of what we know from Horror Nights past, what they could entail. So we have Universal Monsters, which I'm assuming is going to be very reminiscent to 29's when we got that first one,
I think so
when
too.
it was
The
kind of just a big compilation house.
yes,
So I think you'll get, Frankenstein, Frankenstein's Monsters, Bride, Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy.
Dracula.
I think you'll get like a house, or not a house, but a room per. So I'm curious to see how similar it is to what we've already been through.
And if we'll get a
We have-
creature.
Well, Creature was in the first one. He was in
He
the
wa-
compilation.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which the little snippet I saw said, try to survive Leatherface and his family. So I feel like that's going to be similar to the one we saw at 30, I think it was, where it was seemingly like a mashup of like 1 and 2. Like you had a little chop top in there. Like I think it would be fun to go down that road again. But I feel like there's been so many different ways they've done Chainsaw. We had just straight up Texas Chainsaw like original, and then we had that weird like 1 and 2, and then Hollywood seemingly had like the multiverse of Leatherface.
The legacy of Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
or Leatherface or something. Mhm.
Yeah, it was like all different iterations of Leatherface. So I'm curious which route they do go to. I would say probably the 30 route, where it's primarily number 1, but you do get a couple little Easter eggs here and there of part 2.
Mhm.
The Exorcist Believer. Weird.
Very odd
Weird.
choice. That's why I said earlier, I was like, I'm very curious on how they pick these houses.
Yeah, so the house that we had was received very well. It was a huge surprise house. The movie, however, didn't even finish it, honestly. It's been a couple years now, and I haven't even finished it. I haven't even thought to go back to it.
I don't think I have either.
don't really need to, but I believe that because originally when The Exorcist Believer came out, this was supposed to be a trilogy, like a new trilogy.
Mhm.
And it didn't perform well, so they scrapped those plans. My belief is that this got penciled in back then when they penciled it in at Horror Nights, and the presumption was it was going to do pretty well, and the second part of this trilogy probably would have coincided with Horrors Unleashed opening, because there was like that 1.5 to 2 year gap between when I'm assuming this was signed.
That would make sense.
So I think that's why we're still seeing it. And obviously, the plans were in place. This was probably contractually obligated. They can't be like, hey, well, that movie sucked. Like, we're not doing it. I don't think it was contingent on the trilogy continuing, but I'm assuming that maybe that was in the back of their mind, like what was going on.
I didn't think about that. And if they already signed a contract agreement or whatever, that would make sense.
Yeah, and I don't think it would have been worded in the contract being like, well, in case of
Movie not
in case
good.
the trilogy doesn't come out,
Uh-huh.
you can pull out, because I think plans were already in place. And I think they're going to move a lot of the stuff from Orlando over there and just kind of touch it up a little bit. I don't think they're recreating all new stuff. I'd be surprised if it was all new stuff. And then lastly, we have Scarecrow the Reaping, coming straight from HHN, Orlando. A huge fan favorite, often described as one of the scariest houses of Halloween Horror Nights. It has birthed a Scare Zone sequel, and I believe this was at Hollywood a couple of years ago, right? Or last year?
What was
I believe
the...
so.
Remind me what it was called again? I'm sorry.
Well, we have Scarecrow the Reaping.
But was the one in Hollywood, it was the same name, right?
I think so.
I
I
thought
think
it
they just
was.
kind of took the reaping because we had the reaping at 27,
I think it was
and then I
last year,
think
if I'm not mistaken,
yeah,
or
it's
the year
either
before.
last. I think it was 22, like
Mm,
2022.
mm,
That's when I think they got Hollywood, but
mhm.
it's obviously kind of made its rounds from us to them. Like I said, it spawned the sequel, The Cursed Soil, at 31, I think it was a couple years ago. So it's obviously a fan favorite. They know it's a fan favorite, so why not bring it to this event as sort of a billboard, I guess, to come to like Orlando
Mhm.
from the West Coast. I don't know if they really need to publicize any more than they already do, but it's a good sign that they're actually putting an original concept in here. It kind of makes me believe that it's not completely out of the realm of possibility to see other stuff pop up here.
To rotate it, maybe.
Yeah, but I do think I do think this location will not, I don't think we're going to get much original stuff here. I think it's going to be all recycled properties that like
Mhm.
you can get your fix of Horror Nights in during the off season.
And I did just
That's
look it
just
up.
my guess.
Sorry, I did just look it up though, and Scarecrow was at 22 in Hollywood. You're right,
Okay.
2022. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm also wondering if they're going to make this like a identical blueprint of like either one of the houses, maybe, or if it's going to be expanded and maybe some scenes that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wish we had these answers. I'm curious how big these houses are. I'm curious
It's fun to think
if
about,
they
though.
do. Yeah, I'm curious if they compare or will compare to our size. Maybe they're bigger. I don't know the size of that location out there in Vegas that they're working with.
Mhm.
Time will tell.
Area 51, where they're like attaching it to or whatever, is a huge place. I've watched YouTube videos on it because it looks like a really cool spot and I'd like to go. But it's by the way they're describing the Horrors Unleashed, it looks like a big warehouse setup. So I assumed it'd hopefully be a pretty big space.
Yeah, that's all I've seen so far is like that big warehouse facade. It looks like a giant parade warehouse.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious how it's all going to be laid out. So so which house are you most excited if you were to go see this?
Shockingly, well, no, not too shockingly. I would say it's between two. Probably the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Universal Monsters.
Okay, so not even Scarecrow.
I'm excited for all of these except for Exorcist, really. I feel like they all are kind of neck and neck with each other, but Texas Chainsaw I feel like could be really, really scary. But then again, when Scarecrow was obviously one of the scarier houses that people have said, and thinking about it now, I don't even think I did the Scarecrow house that year.
Oh no.
Unfortunately.
Uh-oh.
What year was it? Scarecrow?
Uh-oh. 27, 2017.
27, 2017. If I did go that year, I think I maybe only went once or twice because that was before I was getting the frequent fear passes. So yeah, I don't think I did. So this will be great for me. Maybe
Missed
I'll
out.
fall in love with Scarecrow like everyone else does. But I do
Yeah.
love the farm style, backwoodsy kind of stuff. So I know I'd be
Mhm.
very intrigued by it. But I would probably say right now my top is Universal Monsters or Texas Chainsaw.
All right.
Mhm.
Interesting. I'm very curious to see if they do stray from the path at all on these houses
Mhm.
because say what you will, Exorcist Believer, the movie was not great, but that house was really good. So I'm curious if they do update it at all or if they just kind of roll with the punches and just kind of keep it the same. So
Mhm.
let's get into I posted a couple polls just to kind of gauge people's interests and see where everything lined up. So I did ask the question, are you going to be going on opening weekend? And we got a 84% no.
I thought you were going to say yes.
Not
Not many
no.
people.
So we had about 130 some odd people said no versus the 25 or so that said yes. Now, we are not going to be there opening weekend. I
Sadly.
have no plans on I just don't it's 2 weeks before Horror Night starts like with all of the time I take off work-wise in August and September. I don't want to swing that money just to go see four houses I've seen before. I do want to see what the reviews say of it, and maybe this is an off-season thing for me. Maybe like a January or a February thing next year to kind of, like I said earlier, itch that scratch of like missing Horror Nights. I don't, I don't feel the need to go there right before I'm going to be spending 30 to 50 straight days at Horror Nights in Orlando.
I was going to say, too, as excited as I am, I really am, especially because I've never been to Vegas either. So obviously this would be great for me, like Horror Nights and then the Area 51 and Vegas. Oh, man.
Gambling.
Gambling all night on the Buffaloes. But,
Chris will be there with us. Chris will come with us.
I lost my train of thought now. Vegas. What was I saying before Vegas and freaking gambling? Not that we won't be there. It is disappointing that we won't be there on opening weekend, but I honestly think it would be more fun to go like during the off season, like you were saying too, like that time we're really missing Halloween. Like it'd be fun to go in like March, April or something when we're like still kind of on that halfway point, but like, man, really need a little Horror Nights in my life, even though it's halfway across the country for us.
Yeah, and that's nice too, and hard for us being that we'll have to go pretty much very far for this one. It's not like it's a couple states over. We could try like this would be. We're talking a flight. We're talking hotels. We're talking tickets, and of course, we're talking gambling fund. Like,
let's be real here.
That's a hefty expense. Maybe it's free. Maybe the little babies will hook me up on the slots.
The golden drums.
You know, I don't ever bank on it. But no, opening weekend is a no-go for us. There's no foreseeable plans. Like I said, not that it sounds like I'm not interested at all, but I'm really not interested in going until the off season because I know by the time August comes, like I got Horror Nights right around the corner for me. So I don't necessarily need more of that.
Yeah.
If I have to spend all that extra money to get there. So at some point, I'm sure we will go. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Even if it takes
so the next little poll. Yeah, the next little poll question I put up, are you going to go at all in 2025? So I would say probably yes for us. Like I said, maybe in that off season at some point. But again, this was a little bit more split. This is a 41% yes and a 59% no. So 100 people still said no of going to this because it's a lot of money if you're.
It's tough for a lot of people who aren't locals.
And imagine if you're not local to either Orlando's HHN or Vegas, like you're traveling and doing all your hotels and all your tickets for Orlando, and now you're trying to do, where we have the benefit of, clocking out of work and going to Horror Nights. Like I can just go there and not miss time at work. So we don't have to pay the upfront cost of flying to Orlando, staying in hotels, food and beverage, all that stuff while you're on vacation. It's just a little cost for us, not much. But having to do 2 different trips, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. So I can see why people are not.
Yeah.
I'll jump around to my little last question because I thought this one was pretty interesting. And I put, if you're not going, why? Obviously, money a big one. But I put money, time, not interested in these houses, and don't like Vegas, which got more votes than got more votes than I actually thought. It got 10% of the votes, but 63% of the people said it's a money issue, which we are right there with you.
Don't you worry, buddy.
I promise you. But yeah, no, it's a lot, right? Like I was kind of looking at flights just to see, and it was like $300 to $400 round trip for one. So right off the bat, you're talking $600 to $800 just to get out there. And now if we're looking at hotels, I'd say probably $200 a night. We're going to probably stay at least 3 nights. That's another $600 plus tax, $700. So now you're almost at $1,500. Like
probably like $400 for gambling each. yeah.
But you're talking at least over $1,000 per person for us
easily
to get out there. To get out there to do it, probably rent a car. Or rent a car or Uber around, whichever ends up being cheaper. But typically with all the surge prices and Uberings, when you're in a destination spot, you get hit pretty hard with the fee. So it ends up just being worth it to rent a car. So that's $1,000. If I had other reasons to go out there, which I'll find a reason to get out there at some point, I'll try to have them all coincide. So it's like, I feel better about checking more boxes than like, oh, I went to go see The Exorcist Believer House again. Like I've seen it 40 times, but it's a lot. It really is.
And I feel like the thing with Vegas too is like, especially for us, it would be have you been out to Vegas before? I don't think so.
No.
No, and especially us being our first time in Vegas, we would obviously want to do more stuff while we're out there too. So that would just add on to the expenses of stuff we'd want to do
Yeah.
and things we want to see, whatever. But we definitely want to make the trip out there at some point because I do think this would be very fun. I think it's going to do well for the locals and especially all the tourism that Vegas does get. I think it's going to be great for the off season for them and with the location that they have attached to Area 51. So I'm really excited though for the people who are going opening day and opening week or whatever, so I could see what it looks like. I love spoilers.
Yeah, it would be fun. It would be fun to go out there. But again, I'm just going to be at that point so focused on Horror Nights. At that point, we'll be like 15 days away, 2 weeks before.
It's just really a time crunch at that point too. You don't want to rush around that time since we're always running around and doing stuff during Horror Nights anyways. It's like that's our kind of little relaxed time before it all begins.
Yeah. Well, by relaxed time, you mean record 8 podcast episodes in 1 week for our Podathon. But yeah, sure.
But that's exciting though.
It is. I did put a poll of what house are you most excited for? Do you want to guess which one the people voted for?
Scarecrow.
They did.
Yeah.
53%. Yep.
Nice.
Over 100 votes just for Scarecrow. What do you think Universal Monsters? What do you think Universal Monsters got for votes?
You said 53%.
Scarecrow got a little over 100.
All right, let's try and do this math here. Maybe like 40 votes.
Got around almost 70 votes.
70 votes. Wow, I was going to say 60 originally, but I was like, maybe not.
That took up 33%, and then Chainsaw got 20, and Exorcist got a 9 whole votes, a big whopping 4%.
A lot of people voted on this poll. Thanks, guys. I like seeing the stats.
A lot of people were. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like doing this stuff. But yeah, Scarecrow the Reaping, obviously, our fan base, we're a Horror Nights Orlando podcast. Like, that's where our people are going to vote, I would say. And I was pretty right in assuming that. And I guess, I don't know why I even asked this question, because I really could have just done the answers to this question backwards. And I put, which house are you least excited for? Which I guess is the same as the loser of most excited for, but I need to create a second one. But which one? You already know. Exorcist Believer.
I was going to say, I would just a guess, probably the Exorcist Believer.
It is funny how they are pretty much flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Exorcist Believer got 115 votes for least excited. So it actually got more votes than the most excited for. Versus the Scarecrow on most excited. But yeah, so Exorcist Believer came in with a whopping 62% of the votes for least excited for.
Wow.
Yeah, Chainsaw with 20, Universal Monsters with 11, and then 6% voted that this is their least anticipated house. And funny enough, Xandra, if you are listening right now, you haven't answered the message because you commented on us and said everyone's sleeping on Scarecrow, and you voted for Scarecrow. But you voted on the least excited, so that fudged numbers a little bit.
It messed it up a little bit.
She's like, "Oh, everyone's sleeping on Scarecrow." I was like, "No, they're not. No, it's the wrong one. Sorry, Xandra, but you voted for Scarecrow for your least excited, so you can't say how happy you are to go there. You have to go through The Exorcist 20 times." But yeah, so those are all the little polls. I was just curious where our people were at on this stuff, because I know a handful of people that have said they are going out there, and I'm interested just to kind of see their takes on it, see their coverage of it. I'd love to get out there, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, if we can swing it, it would be fun, but it seems more of a pipe dream at this point. But we'll see. Things can change. Maybe something will pop up. Maybe we'll be able to figure something out. But as right now, it seems like a no-go.
I'm really hoping one day, guys, I'm going to win the lottery off scratch-off tickets, preferably. But if I do, y'all been there for us. So we're gonna spread the love, a little something. Don't you worry, and we'll make it to Vegas.
I'm not. Yeah, so that's seemingly all we have for Horrors Unleashed. Any other final thoughts on Horrors Unleashed?
I also wanted to mention the merchandise. Can't wait to see when they start doing reveals for that kind of stuff, because I'm really hoping that they'll have stuff online. But I think it'll be cooler if it's more like in location exclusive stuff. But like shirts, pins, I'm into any kind of stuff I could buy that's themed, especially for specific events like this. So looking forward to that. Like I said, really looking forward to the food and dining experiences and the like entertainment that they have going on throughout the facility. From the teaser video, it looked really, really cool. Very like industrial, kind of like steampunky bar style that they had, I think, in one of the photo renditions or whatever. I'm just really liking the different theming that it has going on throughout it. I feel like it's going to be kind of how you said, maybe Texas Chainsaw area, Scarecrow area, Monsters, Exorcist with, I don't know. I'm really excited for it. I'm kind of jealous. I wish we were going sooner than later, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. One last thing I did see in the little teaser commercial at the end, it did end with Jack. So Jack is there in some capacity,
Yes,
I guess.
we had to talk about that. We didn't even mention that.
So my biggest question is, how did you put a Horror Nights thing in Vegas and just completely omit Lady Luck? Like, this should be hers.
Yeah.
Jack shouldn't be here. Unless Jack has a house, this should be, like, Lady Luck should have something. This should be some sort of haunted Vegas thing in there.
Definitely would be cool to have Lady Luck. It would make sense. I didn't even think about it. But I guess they're
Missed
going
opportunity.
for Ringmaster Jack with the circus theme, which is kind of Vegas-like too.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Jack is like the figurehead, and that's
Maybe
the
we'll see
most
Lady
like
Luck. Who knows?
recognized. You fucking better. Like, that's such a travesty, right? Like, you put this in Vegas and you don't even have Lady Luck there. Like,
And it sucks too, because
I get it. She's not like the most common or like most known thing, but like, it's so marketable.
I feel like she was a pretty popular icon though, and that was a very good year too.
I mean, compared to the icons, she's not high on people's list. You know, you think of Jack, you think of Caretaker, you think of Director, Usher, and Chance, and then you probably get to like Lady Luck, Terror Queen,
Storyteller.
stuff like that. Like that, just kind of lumped in there because she is, not, I don't want to say forgotten, but she's not been used often.
I always thought she was really cool.
Oh, me too. I love the whole haunted casino style thing. There was a haunted casino house at the SeaWorld Howl-O-Scream, and I thought it was really, really cool.
It was really
that's something I'd love to get that back.
Not to talk about the opposing team, but it was a really cool house.
No, it was done really well, and I think it's a travesty that Lady Luck is not somehow incorporated in this at some point. I'm hoping she will be, but as of right now, it doesn't look like that's the case.
Yeah.
But all right, well, I think that about wraps us up for this week. A short little update episode on Horrors Unleashed. As soon as we get that Spec Map Volume 2, we will be talking about it. I'm sure it's around the corner. We're just about done with February, so we're crushing through this
year.
This off season. Yeah, it's crazy. This Sunday, obviously check us out for Shutter Sundays. We're going to be going over Dark Match. Is this crazy, trippy wrestling horror style movie? So you're going to want to check that out for sure. Give it a watch beforehand. It'll make
with Chris
watching us and
Jericho.
talk about it with Y2J, the man himself, Chris Jericho. But yeah, that's what we have going on our front. March Madness. We're going to get some sort of like crazy tournament episode going for you. We love doing that every year. So that's on the schedule, as well as. No, I'm not going to spoil it. We got some cool stuff coming up.
No, we gotta wait still.
But we got some cool stuff coming up in the near future, I would say. And I'm pretty excited to start talking about all that. But that's all we got for this week. So until next time, this is Nick.
This is Jamie.
Happy haunts.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Fear and Beer, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whatever streaming platform you are listening to us on. You can find us on all of our socials at Fear and Beer Pod.